All right, so this video is how fast it's gonna take you to go from 20% or 15% down to 10%. And we'll also discuss what it's gonna take to get down to 8% body fat. If you're cutting very, very well, if your program is completely dialed in, you're training nutrition, you're in the proper calorie deficit, you can cut about 2% body fat per month. Now, crazy enough, like 2% of body fat per month sounds really, really good, but it's really only losing 4 or 5 pounds of body fat, okay? Now, the challenge, of course, is that if you're not cutting very correctly, the challenge is if you're going too low in calories, too much cardio, not enough strength, you're not retaining strength, then you can very well lose 10 pounds and actually lose half muscle, half fat. So the key, of course, is that to really lose body fat, and you see a big difference between when someone's weight goes down versus when they do DEXAs, you see what actually they're losing. So to really lose body fat, you can lose about 2% per month, but that requires that you cut about 4 or 5 pounds of fat and you retain your muscle. If your strength is going down, then that means you're losing some muscle tissue with the body fat. So for example, your 20% body fat, you wanna get down to 10, that will take about 5 months. And that requires that you're consistent, you're dialed in your calories, and you're not messing up. If you're dialed in, losing 4 or 5 pounds of pure body fat per month, maintaining muscle, then you can lose 2% body fat, and that will take you about 5 months. Now, if you're 15% body fat, you can do that in 10 weeks. And again, that's required that you're very dialed in. Now, once you're at 9-10% body fat, it's very hard to retain all of your muscle tissue, especially if you have a good amount of muscle, okay? The amount of muscle I can hold at 8 to 10% body fat is gonna be higher than what I can hold at 6%. And the leaner you get, the more you're gonna have to sacrifice some muscle tissue. You can retain a lot of strength and muscle cutting to 10%. I find I can retain a ton of strength and muscle at 8%, but going from 8 to 7 to 6 to even 5.5, that's what we're gonna be focusing on, getting to 5.5. You're gonna have to probably lose, right, a couple pounds to drop 0.5%. So you're sacrificing a bit of muscle to get that extra leanness. But again, very, very simple. You can lose 2% body fat per month. That said, when you get to 10%, I recommend taking it 1% per month. I recommend doing a smaller deficit because that will help you preserve more muscle protein and maintain your metabolism than going in a bigger deficit when you have less fat to lose. The more fat you have to lose, the more deficit you can handle. When you have a lot less fat to lose, you want to basically take it a bit slower. And again, if someone's 25% body fat, then yeah, they could do 700 calorie deficit, and they could probably push it to 3% body fat per month and go from 25% to 22% to 19% in a month. But again, if you go too big in the deficit and you're a bigger guy trying to eat 1,600 calories, you are not losing pure body fat, okay? You are not losing pure body fat. It's very, very hard, unless you maybe are a beginner and you just started lifting, and so now your body is able to, gain muscle because you're lifting for the first time. But I really recommend focusing on dropping body fat, focus on losing about 4 or 5 pounds of pure body fat per month. That's 2% body fat per month. Then once you get down to 9-10%, I recommend losing 1% body fat per month and just losing about 3 pounds per month. And that is absolutely perfect. So in my Movie Star Body Masterclass system, okay, we have a few different nutrition protocols. We have the cutting method, and the cutting method has a system where if you have more fat to lose, you can lose weight faster. And then as you get closer to your ideal body weight, the deficit becomes perfect for that 4 or 5 pounds of fat loss per month. We have the recomp protocol, which is really like the slow cut protocol to drop 1% body fat per month when you're doing the last couple percent. Right now, I'm doing a recomp method, and I've cut from like 7.5 on a DEXA to 6%. So I'm cutting like the last 2% in that recomp, which is a smaller deficit. And we have the lean bulk protocol. So we have some really, really cool protocols in that, but that's how long it takes. And again, the most important thing that people don't realize is that most people are losing a lot more muscle on their diet than they think. So you have to have the nutrition dialed in. You have to get the right amount of protein. You have to have your strength training dialed in. You have to preserve your strength on your key list. And you have to be in a smaller deficit. And that way, as you lean down, you look chiseled. But most people, When I look at their transformations, when they lean down, they just become smaller versions of themselves. And when they bulk up, they just become puffier. The key is when you're gaining muscle, stay lean, gain muscle. The key is when you're leaning down, retain your muscle tissue and strip off fat, and that's when you have an insane transformation. That's also why my transformations look so damn good, because I focus on retaining muscle, leaning down, and really filling out those key places. And that's what makes you look incredible. If you want to get the full-blown system, all the nutrition protocols to transform, then join the Movie Star Body Masterclass, and I will see you inside.